survive. How cold would it get? Imagine a world where the very concept of warmth is a distant memory, and every breath you take stings with icy sharpness. The cold would be so intense it would feel as if the air itself is frozen solid, biting through even the thickest layers of clothing. Average global temperatures would plunge to minus 50 degrees Celsius, colder than Antarctica's worst. In this new reality, the coldest places on Earth today would seem almost mild by comparison, and frostbite would be a constant threat to any exposed skin. Even the equator would be locked in deep freeze, buried under thick ice. The tropics, once lush and vibrant, would be unrecognizable. Palm trees entombed in frost, beaches transformed into endless fields of snow and ice. The albedo effect would trap Earth in with each passing year, the planet would grow whiter and brighter, but also more constantly melting as sunlight bounces away instead of warming the ground. The sun would rise and set, but offer no warmth, just a pale glow covering its heights. Days and nights would blur together in a world where the sun is little more than a distant memory, unable to break the seasons would vanish, only a single eternal winter would remain. The cycle of spring, summer, and autumn would be erased, replaced by a relentless, unchanging cold that dominates every corner of the globe. The air would be bone dry, with almost all water locked as ice. Rivers, lakes, and oceans would freeze solid, and the moisture in the air would crystallize, making every breath visible as a cloud of frost. Blizzards and brutal winds would be constant, sculpting the surface into massive dunes and ridges. Snow would never melt, only shift and pile higher, driven by relentless storms that never truly end. Forests and terrain would no longer break the wind, it would howl across the globe. With nothing to slow it down, the wind would sweep over the land, carrying icy particles that scour everything in their path. Surviving here means enduring not just the cold, but relentless, punishing wind. Every step outside would be a battle against nature, with survival depending on ingenuity, resilience, and sheer determination. The atmosphere itself would change, becoming thinner and drier. Breathing would be harder, and the sky would take on a pale, washed-out hue, as if the world itself is holding its breath. The world would be a frozen desert, with only the shifting ice covering it. Life is only vanish, leaving behind a silent, shimmering expanse stretching to every horizon. Could anything adapt to such a world? In this endless winter, only the hardiest forms of life, if any, might find a way to survive, clinging to existence in the harshest environment Earth has ever known. Imagine a world where our vast oceans freeze solid, stretching endlessly beneath a thick, unbroken sheet of ice. The once dynamic, living seas would become silent and still, their surfaces locked away from the sky above. These oceans would be capped by ice a mile thick, forming a barrier so dense that nothing could penetrate it, not even the strongest storms or the brightest sunlight. The familiar movement of waves and tides would vanish completely, replaced by a static, frozen landscape. The rhythmic pulse of the sea would be silenced, leaving only a vast, unmoving expanse. The water cycle, which once breathed life into every corner of the planet, would grind to a halt. There would be no evaporation, no clouds drifting overhead, and almost no precipitation to speak of. The skies would remain eerily clear, devoid of the storms and rains that once nourished the land. Rivers and lakes would freeze to their very beds, becoming solid monuments to a lost world. The gentle trickle of streams and the rush of waterfalls would be replaced by silence and stillness. The planet would transform into an arid, frozen desert, with only wind and snow drifting across the surface. The air would be dry and biting, carrying the memories of the water that once flowed. Liquid water would survive in the most preserved beneath layers of ice and snow. The world's circulatory system, its water, would be locked away, unreachable and inert. The natural flow that once connected continents and sustained ecosystems would be lost. Life would have to water once flowed freely. The Earth's face would be unrecognizable, buried beneath miles-thick ice sheets. Glaciers would grind mountains down, carve deep valleys, and erase familiar landscapes. Only the tallest peaks, nunataks, would poke through the ice. Coastal areas would become vast fjords, and the ice itself would split with crevasses and pressure ridges. The weight of the ice would press continents down, reshaping geology through isostatic compression. If the ice ever melted, the land would slowly go back. Beaches would vanish, replaced by towering landscapes and formations. Mountains would remain at sea, sculpted by the relentless force of ice. For most life, a sudden deep freeze would be an extinction-level event. Plants would die first, no sunlight, no liquid water, no photosynthesis. Forests, grasslands, and jungles would vanish, taking herbivores with them. The collapse of plant life would unravel the entire food web. Carnivores and omnivores would soon follow, with no prey left to hunt. Oceans would offer no refuge. Surface ice would suffocate marine mammals and block sunlight, killing phytoplankton. Marine food chains would collapse, wiping out everything from krill to sharks. The scale of extinction would rival the worst in Earth's history. Perhaps 99% of species lost. The wild sound would fade, replaced by profound biological silence. Only the hardiest organisms might claim to exist in extreme environments. Earth would become a ghost world, biologically impoverished and silent. Who can survive? Extreme survival. Organisms adapted to lethal conditions would be the champion. Deep beneath the ice, life might persist around hydrothermal vents, thriving on chemical energy instead of sunlight. Microbes and snow algae could survive photosynthesizing, tiny microbes might feed on this algae and continue their photosynthesis. Larger animals like amphibians, Arctic foxes might survive food advantage, the collapse of food adaptable and resilient. Could humanity survive? Only with technology and surface living would be impossible. We'd have to build cities deep beneath the ice or in bedrock. These underground habitats would be deep, power every aspect of life. Memory, not a reality. How would we feed ourselves underground? Advanced hydroponic and aeroponic farms would be essential. Plants would grow in nutrient-rich water or mist under powerful LED lights simulating sunlight. Every aspect of farming would be crops would be grown underground in stacked layers using minimal water and space. Farmers would become scientists gain valuable clues about how life might survive on a future frozen Earth, and how we might adapt to extreme changes in our own environment. At the same time, these explorations remind us how rare and precious our warm blue alive.